Okay, we have a banger of a show today, man. The first day of Cowboys Minicamp is officially over, and there's a lot of feedback going around, including some players giving some feedback to some media members because they didn't like some of the feedback that they had. We're going to get into that, so be sure to stick around. And we got news on George Pickens dominating. Some rookies are standing out. We have a new starting middle linebacker emerging, and some other notes and tidbits I want to give some feedback on. Let's get right into it, and be sure to subscribe for more Dallas Cowboys content just like this. All right, Shotty, I see you out there, Shotty. Hey, man, Shotty got that thing jumping out there, man. When I tell y'all Shotty got the energy going crazy for the Dallas Cowboys right now at practice, this man, London Wells, is out here acting like he an airplane director trying to make sure he can get that man safely down the runway and stuff. I don't know what's going on out there, but I love the energy. Keep it going. I want to see if this is going to be able to be sustained throughout the season. I want to see if this energy is going to be like this when we hit a little bit of trials and tribulations. I want to see if it's going to be a constant theme, man, because this is beautiful right now. That's the one note I want to give on as far as just the environment that we're noticing, because that's very, very noticeable from other years. I don't remember seeing this much energy ever in practice for the Cowboys. You see dudes kind of just walking around, hands on their hips, joking around with each other a little bit. They get in their drill, get serious for a second, then get back out, and it's kind of just like hum, waiting on the next. No, they out there buzzing, man. I love to see that. A lot of positive energy going on around the team. Now, as far as some news and notes that we want to get into, and I'm going to kind of get into several people's notes and analysis on what they saw at training camp. I don't want to just go by one person, because people see different things and they may have differences of opinion, because a player damn sure do. So we're going to get into that, right? So Tommy Yars, he says some of his takeaways from day one of Cowboys Minicamp. Tommy Yars is someone who works with DallasCowboys.com, so he's always at the start, right? He's always up there. He said nobody could guard George Pickens today. Beat Israel Mukuamu on a nasty comeback route and had a couple more catches on the day too. You can tell he and Dak Prescott are starting to get comfortable with one another. Excellent to hear. Excellent to hear. Solid day for Jonathan Mingo. Went up and caught a deep ball with double coverage closing in and didn't drop anything. Excellent to hear. Finally, we get to hear from some Jonathan Mingo. Went up and caught a deep ball with double coverage. It's crazy, and I love that. But remember, they can't get physical right now, so let's see if he can finish those catches through the physicality when the pads really come on and guys can start hitting a little bit, right? You ain't trying to send nobody to the hospital, but you're trying to hit somebody, right? Kyer Elam had another pass breakup that should have been an interception today on a free play. Otherwise, it was a tough day for the secondary. That is good for the offense, and that may be good for us as fans too, because if the secondary continues to get their asses kicked throughout this offseason period, through the entire training program, if they get their asses beat, they going to have to go out and get somebody, because they can't think that, oh, we just that great. That's not a good sign. You cannot have one side of the ball constantly losing over and over and over again, because more times than not, that doesn't mean that that other side of the ball is just that great. That means that side of the ball is that flawed, right? So you want to make sure that kind of starts to balance out a little bit, and you start to see that DB room win some of those battles, especially when they can get physical. Remember, they cannot actually start hitting. They can't get real physical. They don't have equal right to the ball. Still right now in minicamp, they still don't have equal right to the ball. So it's really not fair to say that the secondary is having a hard time, because the secondary is almost having to play at half speed, because they're not playing real football in the secondary for real. It's hard to kind of be hard on secondary, which, again, this is why it's important y'all subscribe to me, because I'm giving it to y'all the raw, the real, because we don't want to get carried away with some of these observations that we're seeing, right? So Kyer Elam is someone we've consistently seen. His name has been popping. His name has been one that everyone has been kind of discussing as a player to watch. So I really love to see that. Jack Sanborn held his own in the middle of the field with a couple of breakups. Seemed like the offense was trying to work the short middle of the field today, and Sanborn was always in the area. Samborn is someone, and we'll get into this a little bit more, because I actually went and watched all of his coverage snaps, because there's a proclamation being made by Joseph Hoyt of DLLS Sports that Sanborn is emerging as the starting middle linebacker, right? This is an article, I guess, being written by DLLS, and it says, new story, Jack Sanborn was the temporary fix for the Bears rather than a solution. Now he's the early front runner to be the Cowboys starting middle linebacker in Matt Eberflus' system. More on an unsatiated Sanborn, the competition ahead of him below. I'm going to say this, man. I think this is an article by Clarence Hill. I'm going to say this, man. As much of a good story as this is, I don't think that this is actually going to be how things play out. I absolutely think Kenneth Murray Jr. is going to end up being the starting middle linebacker. I think that you're going to see Sanborn and Maris Leofau flanking him when they do have 3 linebacker sets out there. And I think that when you see them playing in a nickel look, then you'll see Kenneth Murray Jr. probably out there with Marist or Shamar, kind of a more fleet of foot linebacker, because I watched all of his cover snaps for the Bears last season specifically, because that's when he really struggled. Like he really hasn't been a good coverage linebacker throughout his entire career, but he particularly struggled last season, and I think that's what kind of made him expendable in the Bears' eyes. He kind of fell out of favor, fell out of rotation a little bit, and played the least amount of snaps he's played in his entire career. But even if you look at him through PFF, some of you guys really like PFF as a reputable source, so I'm gonna feed you guys as well. You look at him through PFF. His overall grade is 63.1. Pass rush grade is damn good. Run defense grade is damn good. His coverage grade brought him down a whole lot, though. He would have been ranked a lot higher as a linebacker on PFF at least, had his coverage grade been better. And I was like, man, there's no way this dude is this bad in coverage. And then I actually went and watched his film room, and I watched all 54 plays of where he was actually in coverage plays last year for the Bears, and I can see why they graded him the way that they did. This is not me trying to be negative. Jack Sanborn is going to be a hell of an asset for us because he is a great run defender as a linebacker. And he's someone that is a very heady player, and he'll help all the other linebackers transition easier into Matt Eberflus's defense. But I think it's a little early to be declaring that anybody is making rounds to be the starters or moving up depth charts, because even Shotty himself a week ago just said he's rotating everyone in and out, creating that competition, seeing how guys look in certain positions, man. And Jack Sanborn didn't even play a lot of middle linebacker for the Bears. So why would you force him to come and be the starting middle linebacker for the Cowboys when he was a backup on the Bears and wasn't the middle linebacker for the Bears? Yeah, he played there a couple of snaps, but more times than not, he was not the middle linebacker. He was not the Mike. So that's something that you need to pay attention to right there. I think that Kenneth Murray Jr. is actually the one that's more so in the front running to be the middle linebacker. And he stated when he got traded here, that was the first thing he stated was, hey, I want to be the middle linebacker. I want to be the shot caller in the middle. And I think that he wouldn't make that statement unless he talked to the coaches about what his role would look like with the Cowboys. So I think that even the Cowboys are under the impression that Kenneth Murray Jr. is going to be someone that they probably have in the middle of that defense. I think he makes the most sense. He has the best foot speed. He's the best sideline to sideline guy. So disadvantageous situation. Because I've seen Jack Sanborn. I watched his film, and he's a really, really good player, really heady player, but you do not want him getting caught trying to chase guys. You do not want him getting caught trying to move laterally across the field or trying to play guys over his shoulder. They're running downfield. You do not want him getting caught in those situations. I think that we'll see Jack Sanborn employed in more of an early down type of situation, running down type of situations. I think he'll be out there, and I think they're going to be almost deploying the linebackers in platoons in different packages. I think that you're going to see different combinations of linebackers, probably between a mixture of 4 guys. You're going to see Marist, Jack, DeMarvion, and Kenneth Murray Jr. in different packages and different combinations based off of the play situation. That's what you're going to end up seeing, because those guys have very specific skills and traits that make them stand out. Like our rookie that we got, he's a much better coverage linebacker than probably Marist and Jack. So he would probably be someone that's used more in coverage situations. Marist, we know what he is. He's great running downhill. Jack Sanborn's another guy that's great running downhill. Kenneth Murray Jr. is another guy that's great running downhill. DeMarvion Overshown, great running downhill. DeMarvion Overshown also great running sideline to sideline. So when he gets back, I think more than anything, I think Jack may end up being kind of the odd guy out of the rotation mainly when he gets back. And that's why they only signed him to a 1-year contract, because they know that realistically speaking, they can't afford to have him play a vital role. He's not really figured into the future of this team, so they're not going to have him come in and be the starting middle linebacker to then have to pay another guy this offseason or lose your starting middle linebacker. That honestly does not make sense from a contractual standpoint either. So that one, I would just caution everybody on and be like, hey, man, I don't know about that one, all right? Now, outside of that, Israel Mukuamu did not agree with what Tommy Yards had to say about George Pickens piecing him up on a comeback route. He said, talk about how I've been locking up too since we started. First catch, I gave up on him. Don't do that, Tommy. So Izzy is like, oh man, hold on, man. Don't be out here playing me in these streets making me look bad. Cause it did kind of sound like that Izzy just been getting towed up by George Pickens the whole time. But I like this. I like guys coming out and be like, hold on now. Don't be making me like no scrub. I've been balling too. Speak on my name some more too. And Izzy is somebody that apparently he's been being used as an outside corner a lot more later into these practices. Deron Bland has been in the nickel. Still, they're using him in the nickel a lot. And then I think Kyer Elam's been on the other outside corner. So we've been seeing Izzy, Elam, and then Bland in the nickel. And I think that's probably going to end up being how they use them more than likely. To me, I think Izzy would end up being a better outside corner than anything. But we'll see. We'll see. I think his body type. I think it's because his body type, it fits exactly the type of outside corners that Eberflus likes in his defense. If you look at all the profiles of his outside corners that run at 6'1", 6'2" range, kind of long rangier guys, Izzy has kind of fit that build a little bit. And I think that Deron Bland is your best nickel. And I just think it's foolish not to play players at a position that's their best position and that's the best player on your team at that position. I think it's foolish. So regardless of what he want to be paid, man, I think that he has to play that nickel because he's our best nickel. Period. He's our best nickel. He's our best nickel, and that's going to be a very, very important position. And I do want to see them get Israel Mukuamu on the field. I think the kid's going to be a baller. I have no problem with this, and I don't think Tommy Yards meant any harm by it. But it was just a funny exchange because I like that. That's something that you got to remember, man. Like, these reporters, they can't report everything on every single player. So when they say something good about one player, it makes you instantly think the other player on the other side of the ball has just been doing bad the entire time. And you got to remember, keep all of this in perspective, bro. This is just simply seeing what other people observe through their own eyes. Just simply seeing what they observed in that specific period of time, not the entire time. And that's not indicative of their entire experience for each and every player. It's impossible for them guys to act like they're watching each and every single player and grading them in that one viewing session. You can't do that. It's not humanly possible. Cut it out. Now, from Patrick Walker, he said Dak Prescott's connection and chemistry with George Pickens is already very, very real. The two connecting on several attempts that either included yak or a big downfield play. One deep ball that was caught in double coverage by Pickens led CeeDee Lamb to yelling and dancing on the opposite side of the play after the catch. Woo! All right, so Dak and Pickens already turning heads. Like I told y'all before in the preview, we were going to hear and see a lot of this. Dak and Pickens are going to make a lot of progress. They're going to get a lot of highlights. Pickens does this. In Pittsburgh, he was doing this. So he's definitely going to do this in Dallas with Dak out there throwing him more accurate balls. Pickens, he's going to be a problem, bro. And I'm excited to see what this offense is going to be ultimately. But again, you don't want to continue to hear that the secondary is not having good days because that gives you a little bit of concern. And that is something that's just not the most positive thing in the world. And I'll just say that, right? Something else that I wanted to bring up, man, Brevin Spann forward. His name is being brought up a lot more, and they say he's been one of the more consistent standouts in media availabilities. Nick Harris says this. So that's very interesting to hear as well because Brevin Spann forward is someone I think is going to make Luke Schoonmaker disposable. I think he's going to make Luke Schoonmaker someone that they can trade at that point and get a little bit of value for. He was a former second-round pick, so a team may look at him and be like, hey, man, is this a Dalton Schultz type of situation where this is a tight end that can end up being a starter on our team if we have a bad tight end room, right? You can get something for Luke Schoonmaker, especially if Brevin Spann forward continues to stand out. Do I think that he's going to seriously and realistically threaten Jake Ferguson right now? No. I really don't. I went back and watched Brevin Spann forward, all of his receiving snaps, and I know he's probably the best blocking tight end on the team, but all of his receiving snaps, all of his snaps where he had to run out and run routes, yes, he can catch the ball. He has reliable hands as long as he's not contested. When he has any type of traffic around him in the NFL thus far, in actual gameplay, he has not proven to have good enough hands to be able to bring the ball in while having a defender right on him. So his contested catch, not all that great just yet. So I think that Jake Ferguson is honestly safe for now. I love Brevin Spann for really like him, but I think some of his weaknesses is going to keep him from kind of moving up into that real starting type of competition because as a receiver, I think Jake Ferguson is just much further ahead of Brevin Spann forward right now, at least right now. Now, unless Brevin Spann forward has gotten a lot better in that department, and he showed a lot of improvement from the tape that he put on last season in receiving situations, then okay, cool. Brevin Spann forward can make it a serious competition. But I love the fact that we have a two-headed beast kind of at tight end because we're going to be running a lot of heavy sets on this team. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of 2 tight end sets for the Cowboys this upcoming season, because Brian Schottenheimer is going to want to establish the run. He's going to want to run the ball. He's going to want to be multiple. And part of being multiple is being able to have multiple tight ends out there on that field and being able to have one of those guys run out and break out for a route or break out into that flat or be able to run up the seam or whatever it may be. You know what I'm saying? So I think that having Brevin Spann emerge is only going to make our run game better, and it's only going to make our team more physical and tougher, because that's kind of what he brings at that tight end position. So I really love that. Beyond that, Donovan Ezeraiku is really showing out, but we're going to get into that in our second show for the day, probably a little bit later. But appreciate you guys tuning in. Be sure to subscribe so you can catch that second show, because it's all about your young lion and the defensive line room. And I promise you, it's a good. All right, but either way, till next time, them cow.
Calling me, texting me, paging me, asking me, am I still them boys? Y'all usually check on me. Listen. I'm still them boys. Hey! Woo! Hey! I'm still them boys.